All right, bet it up, bet it up, bet it up. All right, so Ecclesiastes 6 and 1, it starts off, there is an evil which I have seen under the sun, and it is common among men. A man to whom God hath given riches, wealth, and honor, so that he wanteth nothing for his soul of all that he desireth. Yet God giveth him not power to eat thereof, but a stranger eateth it. This is vanity, and is an evil disease. So like Solomon's saying here, like there's an evil that he's seen under the sun, like a man to whom God giveth riches, wealth, and honor. So like God will give a man riches, glory, honor, things of that nature, wealth. But then he said, yet God giveth him not power to eat thereof. So he got all this stuff, but he can't enjoy it, right? But a stranger eateth it. This is vanity, and it is an evil disease. Verse 3, if a man beget 100 children, and live many years, so that the days of his years be many, and his soul be not filled with good, and also that he have no burial. I say that an untimely birth is better than he, for he cometh in with vanity, and departeth in darkness, and his name shall be covered with darkness. So it's like this man has 100 children. He lived many years. He's been there, done that, right? But his soul is not filled with good. Like he's been experiencing bad all his life, right? And his soul be not filled with good, and also he have no burial. Dang, this man didn't even got buried. So pretty much he done had 100 kids, but from the day he was born, he's just been going through badness. He's been going through a lot of evil. He said, I say that an untimely birth is better than he, or like a stillborn child. Let's look that up real quick. That untimely birth. Yep. You said a miscarriage is better than this. Dang, that's tough, honestly. When you really think about it, he said, if a man beget 100 children and live many years, so that the days of his years be many, and his soul be not filled with good, and also that he have no burial, right? I say that an untimely birth is better than he. So it's better to be a miscarried baby than to have 100 children, live many years, but all your days be filled with evil. Oh, he said, for he cometh with vanity, he cometh in with vanity, and departeth in darkness, and his name shall be covered with darkness. Moreover, he hath not seen the sun, nor known anything. This hath more rest than the other. Let me move my thing over here real quick, so we can get a more centered view. All right. So where we at? Where we at? Where we at? I'm really just keeping this on the screen for y'all's sake, for real, so y'all can follow along with me in case y'all don't have a Bible, you know. But where we at? Where we at? It says, okay. So it says, starting at the end of verse 3, it says, I say that an untimely birth is better than he, for he cometh in with vanity, and departeth in darkness, and his name shall be covered with darkness. Moreover, he hath not seen the sun, nor known anything. This hath more rest than the other. So like this is talking off the vein of the untimely birth, or the stillborn child, or the miscarried child. It says, for he cometh in with vanity, and departeth in darkness, and his name shall be covered with darkness. Moreover, he hath not seen the sun, nor known anything. This hath more rest than the other. So it's like dang, this stillborn child is a little better than the one that's had 100 children, lived a full life. Because he said this has more rest because he hasn't seen the sun nor known anything, right? Oh, dang, that's cool. But back on topic. But it says right after that, verse 6, yea, though he though he live 1,000 years twice told, yet hath he seen no good. Doth not go doth not all go to one place? All the labor of a man is for his mouth, yet the appetite is not filled. For what knoweth the wise more than the fool? What hath the poor that knoweth to walk before the living? So it's like what does the wise have more than the fool, right? What hath the poor that knoweth to walk before the living? Better is the sight of the eyes than the wondering of the desire. So it's better. Better is the thing that's like in front of you that you can actually see, rather than your desire is just wandering. It says this is also vanity and vexation of spirit. That which hath been is named already, and it is known that it is man. Neither may he contend with him that is mightier than he. Verse 11, seeing that there be many things that increase vanity, what is man the better? So like in all this, we see that everything is vain, right? So how is man any better? Like man is vain low key too. Seeing that there be many things that increase vanity, what is man the better? Who knoweth what is good for man in this life? All the days of his vain life which he spendeth as a shadow. For who can tell a man what shall be after him under the sun? Nobody but God can tell you what's gonna be after you. But let's keep going in chapter 7. Chapter 7. A good name is better than precious ointment, which is true. It's like if you got a good name, if your name is good, you good pretty much. Like he said, it's better than precious ointment. So it's like good name honestly will heal people. If somebody having a bad day and somebody with a good name just walks in the room, everybody's day is about to be better. Like it's like their good name brings a good energy with them. You know. It says a good name is better than precious ointment, right? And the day of death more than the day of one's birth. Dang, he said the day of death is better than the day of your birth. But we're gonna go. We're gonna build on that real quick because we're looking in verse 8 of this same chapter. Because it says right here, the day of one's death and the day of one's birth, right? And it says, better is the end of a thing than the beginning thereof. So that's why the day of the day of death is better than the day of one's birth. And next he says it is better to go into the house of mourning, so than to go to the house of feasting. So it's better to go to the funeral home than the barbecue that they having, you know. Excuse me. It says it is better to go to the house of mourning than to go to the house of feasting, for that is the end of all men, and the living lay it to his heart. So it's like it's better to go to a funeral because it says that's the end of all men, and but that end of that man it's really for all the living to lay to heart. That's why everybody gathers at a funeral and stuff like that. Like it's for the living to lay to heart. Sorrow is better than laughter, for by the sadness of the countenance the heart is made better. So he's like, it's better to go through something and have some sorrow, have some tribulation, because for by sadness the countenance of the heart is made better. It's like you can heal from that, and once you do heal from it, it's a very good thing. The heart of the wise is in the house of mourning. See again, what it say in verse 2? It is better to go to the house of mourning than the house of feasting. And it says the heart of the wise is in the house of mourning, but the heart of fools is in the house of mirth. So like, I think of it like this: like you got the house of mourning in this case again, like the funeral home or something like that. But the heart of fools is in the house of mirth. So I'm thinking about like, the clubs we go to, the places we go to enjoy ourselves, but they don't really have any kind of godliness within them. Like again, like a club or something like that. He says it's better to but the heart of fools is in the house of mirth. So like, if that's where you frequent, then your heart is most likely to be foolish, at least in God's eyes. It says, for as the crackling of thorns under a pot, so is the laughter of a fool. This also is vanity. And it says in verse 7, surely oppression maketh the wise man mad, and a gift destroyeth the heart. Better is the end of a thing than the beginning thereof, and the patient in spirit is better than the proud in spirit. So you gotta be patient in your life, within yourself. Because he said that's better than the proud in spirit. And next he says, be not hasty in thy spirit to be angry. So when you feel yourself getting upset, things of that nature, learn how to give that to the Lord. It says right after that, for anger resteth in the bosom of fools. And it's like, you got people that'll be angry at something. Like the book says, don't let the sun go down upon your anger, right? But you got some people that will, let's say, be angry at a specific person and be even madder at them 2 days later. Like don't let the sun go down upon your wrath. It says, for anger resteth in the bosom of fools. And when that anger is resting, it just gets worse and worse until it turns to hatred, envy. Then you starting to cross lines. You starting to sin against your Lord. And in verse 10 it says, say not thou, what's the cause that the former days were better than these? For thou doest not inquire wisely concerning this. So it's like he's saying don't ask like, why were the old days better than these days? Because he's saying that you're not even really inquiring wisely on this. Verse 11. Oh dang, I forgot to. But we right here in verse 11. It says, wisdom is good with an inheritance, and by it there is profit to them that seek the sun. For wisdom is a defense, and money is a defense. But the excellency of knowledge is that wisdom giveth life to them that have it. So it's like, money is defense. Money is a defense, right? And wisdom. Like, I think we're gonna see in the ninth chapter more so about that wisdom being a defense. But he said money is defense too. So like, you can use money as a shield. For real though. Like, you get into the trouble with the law, man, flashing enough money, That's like your shield right there, your get out of jail free ticket. But it says wisdom is also a defense as well. For wisdom is a defense, and money is a defense. But the excellency of knowledge is that wisdom giveth life to them that have it. Right? Now let's continue. Consider the work of God, for who can make that straight which he hath made crooked? So like what God has purposed to be crooked, how can you make it straight? Like we can't. Like the horizon is straight, but we can't make that crooked, you know? It says, in the day of prosperity be joyful, but in the day of adversity consider. God also hath set the one God also has set the one over against the other, to the end that man should find nothing after him. All things have I seen in the days of my vanity. There is a just man that perisheth in his righteousness, and there is a wicked man that prolongeth his life in his wickedness. So he said, all things have I seen in the days of my vanity. Solomon's seen a lot. And he said there is a just man that perisheth in his righteousness. So pretty much like a just man is getting the reward of the wicked. And there is a wicked man which prolongeth his life in his wickedness. But you got this wicked man, he's like getting the reward of the righteous man. It says, but be not righteous over much, neither make thyself over wise. Why shouldest thou destroy thyself? Be not over much wicked, neither be thou foolish. Why should thou die before thy time? It is good that thou shouldest take hold of this. Yea, also from this withdraw not thine hand. For he that feareth God shall come forth of them all. So that's really the end goal right here. We gotta fear God. He said, he that feareth God shall come forth of them all. Of the righteous and the wicked. Or the foolish in this case. Like, why shouldest thou die before thy time? It is good that thou shouldest take hold of this. Yea, from this withdraw not thine hand. So keep this in your heart. For he that feareth God shall come forth of them all. Wisdom strengtheneth the wise more than 10 mighty men which are in the city. So that wisdom is going to be your principal thing still. For there is not a just man upon the earth that doeth good and sinneth not. But let's go back to verse 19 real quick. It says, wisdom strengtheneth the wise more than 10 mighty men which are in the city. So, we're going to go to Deuteronomy chapter 30 real quick. If I'm not mistaken. It's either Deuteronomy 4 or Deuteronomy 30. I think it's 4 actually. Yeah, that's 4. Because we're going off the same vein of wisdom in Ecclesiastes. It says, wisdom strengtheneth the wise more than 10 mighty men which are in the city. Okay, so he said like wisdom is gonna strengthen you even more than a gang of 10 folks. Like that wisdom is gonna make you stronger than them. Like they may be physically more than you, but you got the wisdom of God with you. But reading up in Deuteronomy 4 real quick, because it says, now therefore hearken, O Israel. Oh wait, hold up. Actually, no, let me skip down to verse 5. Verse 5. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commanded me. This is Moses talking to the children of Israel, right? He says, behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commanded me, that ye should do so in the land whither ye goes to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations We shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. So he said, Moses said, look, I taught y'all statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commanded me to do. Like my God commanded me to teach you statutes and judgments. In verse 6 he says, keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom. So now we got a good look at what this wisdom really is, right? It's really the keeping of these statutes and judgments. Now let's go back to Ecclesiastes. So we're going back to verse 19. It says, wisdom strengtheneth the city, and wisdom strengtheneth the wise, more than 10 mighty men which are in the city. For there is not a just man upon earth that doeth good and sinneth not. And right about that, we're all born in sin, raised in iniquity. But going back to that wisdom, like, we got to keep those laws, statutes, and commandments, because wait, hold up. That just made me think. Let me go to Proverbs real quick. Proverbs. Alright. Proverbs 2. Proverbs 2, starting at verse 1, it says, my son, if thou receive my words, and hide my commandments with thee, so that thou incline thy ear unto wisdom, and apply thy heart unto understanding. Yea, if thou criest after knowledge, and liftest up thy voice for understanding, if thou seekest her as silver, and searchest for her as hid treasures, then shalt thou understand the fear of the Lord and the knowledge of God. So it's like you gotta hide the Lord's commandments within you, so then you can incline your ear to wisdom. But he said back in Proverbs 1, he said the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction, right? But if the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, like, then that's just the foundation. But the fear of the Lord is the keeping of his commandments. It says, my son, if thou wilt receive my words and hide my commandments with thee, so that thou incline thine ear unto wisdom. So that's how you incline your ear to wisdom. You got to get that basic foundation, that basic building block, which is the fear of the Lord. And then he said, hide my commandments with thee. That's going to get you to start inclining to wisdom. And then you're going to start moving in a whole different way. But we back in Ecclesiastes. It says, for there is not a just man upon earth that doeth good and sinneth not. 21, it says, also take no heed unto all words that are spoken, lest thou hear thy servant curse thee. So in this case, don't eavesdrop a little. Don't eavesdrop too much, because you might hear something that you don't want to hear. But he's saying that's low key on you, even though you know they're the ones that said it. It's kind of on you for getting upset or anything or something like that, because you were the one that was listening in. It says, also take no heed unto all words that are spoken, lest thou hear thy servant curse thee. And don't nobody want to hear that. But if you was just listening to their private conversation or something, and you just overheard that, then dang, now you mad. Like you just go to a door, you hear somebody and they're talking about you, saying, oh, he ain't this, he ain't that. Then yeah, you're gonna be feeling some type of way. You're probably gonna be feeling some type of way till you see that individual again. But he said, take no heed unto all words that are spoken. So sometimes you just gotta, that ain't my business right now. Lest thou hear thy servant curse thee. For oftentimes also thine own heart knoweth that thou thyself likewise have cursed others. So like, so like, we also know that we ourselves have cursed others. So it's like that's like we ain't above them, above the one that cursed us, because it's like, again, we've cursed others in our heart at least. Verse 23, it says, all this have I proved by wisdom. I said I will be wise, but it was far from me. That which is far off and exceeding deep, who can find it out? I applied my heart to know and to search and to seek out wisdom and the reason of things. So Solomon went out to find out how the world works for real. Like what's the ways of this world, and the goings on in it. I applied my heart to know and to search and to seek out wisdom and the reason of things, and to know the wickedness of folly, even of foolishness and madness. So Solomon went out to learn these things, to learn like the goings on of the world, wisdom, the reason of things, and to know wickedness of folly and even of foolishness and madness. So like, Solomon gave himself to know the good and the bad. And he says, I find more bitter than death. I find more bitter than death the woman whose heart is snares and nets, and her hands is bands. Whoso pleaseth God shall escape from her, but the sinner shall be taken away by her, shall be taken by her. So he's saying, dang, there's more. There's one thing more bitter than death, and that's the woman whose heart is snares and nets, and her hands is bands. Like you got a evil woman, quote unquote. Then hey, it's saying Proverbs, like, freaking, dwell in the corner of a rooftop is better than to dwell in a wide house with like a brawling woman or something like that. But he said, whoso pleaseth God shall escape from her. So like, if you got, because there's a whole lot of evil women, especially in this day and age. And he says, I find more death. I find more bitter than death the woman whose heart is snares and nets, in her hands is bands. So it's like, dang, like these kind of women are will make you a little more sympathetic toward death. Like, dang. But he says, whoso pleaseth God shall escape from her. So if say you got a harlot as a wife, if you fear God and you still keeping His commandments, you're gonna escape from her in God's time. But the sinner shall be taken by her. Verse 27, behold, this I have found, saith the preacher, counting one by one, to find out the account, which yet my soul seeketh, but I find not. One man among 1,000 have I found, but a woman among all those have I not found. Lo, this only have I found, that God hath made man upright, but they have sought out many inventions. Let's continue into chapter 8. So it says in Ecclesiastes chapter 8, and we start this at verse 1. It says, who was as the wise man? So who was like this? Who's like a wise man? Or who is likened unto a wise man? And who knoweth the interpretation of a thing? A man's wisdom maketh his face to shine, and the boldness of his face shall be changed. So, like, if you got wisdom, right, it's gonna make your face shine. You have a different confidence about yourself, because it's like, if you got wisdom, then it's like you're sure of yourself, or at least sure of the Lord that's giving you this wisdom. It says, "Who is as the wise man? Who's like the wise man? And who knoweth the interpretation of a thing? A man's wisdom maketh his face to shine, and the boldness of his face shall be changed. I counsel thee to keep the king's commandment, and that in regard of the oath of God." So it's like, if you got a ruler, hey, do your best to keep the king's commandment, unless it contradicts with what God gotta say. Like how Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they weren't following the king's commandments when King Nebuchadnezzar told them, "Oh, when you hear the sound of the flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, dulcimer, when you hear this music, bow down to this image." Like that's the time where you can disobey the king because you're trying to follow your father. Because Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they did not bow, and then the Lord was like, "Look," or Nebuchadnezzar was like, "Look, I'm gonna give y'all one more chance. When you hear this music, I'm gonna need you to bow, or else I'm gonna burn you in a fiery furnace." Right? And then they were like, "Look, you don't even have to play the music again. We're not careful. We don't care what we about to answer you. You don't have to play this music. Go ahead and throw us in the furnace." Like we gotta have that kind of faith though. But it says, "I counsel thee to keep the king's commandment until pretty much until it goes against what the word of God gotta say. I counsel thee to keep the king's commandment, and that in regard of the oath of God. Be not hasty to go out of his sight. Stand not in an evil thing, for he doeth whatsoever pleaseth him." So like, I think of this as like we going to work, right? And you got that one manager, one boss you really don't like being around because they like to nitpick everything. It says, "Be not hasty to go out of his sight. Stand not in an evil thing." So like even though you don't particularly like this manager, you don't like the way they run things, and you might do things a different way than they want you to. But it says, "Be not hasty to go out of his sight." So even though like you don't really like this manager or anything like that, because like how that one person show up at work, and then everybody's like, "All right, let's dip before we all get in trouble." That's kind of the situation we got going on. Be not hasty to go out of his sight. So hey, stay around that person a little bit. Stand not in an evil thing, for he doeth whatsoever pleaseth him. Verse 4, it says, "Where the word of a king is, there is power. And who may say unto him, What doest thou?" So who's going to tell the king, "Bro, what you doing?" Nobody. He's the king, right? "Whoso keepeth the commandment shall feel no evil thing. But a wise man's heart discerneth both time and judgment." So another building block on adding to wisdom. It says a wise man's heart discerns both time and judgment. So like, we got to learn how to judge according within ourselves. Like, is this the right time to say this? Is this the right time to bring this to bring out the specific message or anything like that? Is it the right time to is it the right time to speak, honestly? It says a wise man's heart discerneth both time and judgment. So we gotta have both of those things under our belt if we want to be considered wise. It says, "Because to every purpose there is time and judgment. Therefore the misery of man is great upon him. For he knoweth not that which shall be. For who can tell him when it shall be?" So it says, like, to everything there is time and judgment. And this is really talking about going to the grave. Honestly, like this death, like that really happens in God's time, God's timing, and it's usually a judgment from God. It says, because to every purpose there is time and judgment. Therefore, the misery of man is great upon him. Why is this man's misery so great? For he knoweth not that which shall be. He doesn't know what's going to happen in the future, or what's going to happen to him in the future. For who can be able to tell him when it shall be? So who can determine this man's future? Who can say, who can tell this man what's going to go on the next day? Nobody. Verse 8. There is no man that hath power over the spirit to retain the spirit. So we don't have power over our spirit, right? Or really like our breath, our mind. Well, the breath that's in us, the breath of life, that's the spirit that we're really talking about. It says, there is no man that hath power over the spirit to retain the spirit, neither hath he power in the day of death. So in the day that you die, you don't have any power to stop God from snatching that breath away from you. You don't. It says, there is no man that hath power over the spirit to retain the spirit, neither hath he power in the day of death, and there is no discharge in that war. Neither shall wickedness deliver those that are given to it. So it's like ain't nobody gonna discharge anyone in the middle of war, right? Well, this is a war. This is a spiritual war. And it says, neither shall wickedness deliver those that are given to it. So wickedness isn't gonna discharge you after you're given to it already, because it's like now you're fighting for wickedness. You're in this spiritual battle, and you're on the side of wickedness, right? All this have I seen, and applied my heart unto every work that is done under the sun. There is a time wherein one man ruleth over another to his own hurt. And I also saw the wicked buried, who had come and gone from the place of the holy, and they were forgotten in the city where they had so done. This also is vanity. So it's like, dang, you see the wicked buried. They've come and gone from the place of the holy. Let's just say church. You've seen them in there, but it says they were forgotten in the city where they had so done. Because at the end they still buried. This is also vanity. Like Solomon's showing you, like, most of the stuff in this life that we experience is vanity. Like we don't really have, it all doesn't really, it's like it's vain. So it's like it really doesn't mean anything. Like just how a righteous man can die just as a wicked man, and a wicked man can live just as a righteous man, right? Like that's vanity. Like it doesn't really mean anything in the end. But it says in verse 11, because sentence is against an evil work is not executed speedily. Therefore the heart of the sons of men is fully set in them to do evil. So like, just because you don't got God coming down smite you for every sin, you don't see people dropping dead because, oh dang, we done stole a pack of gum. Dang, I done lied to somebody. You don't see them dropping dead because of that. But it says, because a sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily. Therefore, the heart of the sons of men is fully set in them to do evil. So it's like, since we don't see anything going on for our actions now, then we just keep doing it. Keep getting worse and worse. Verse 12, it says, though a sinner do evil 100 times, and his days be prolonged, yet surely I know that it shall be well with them that fear God, which fear before him. But it shall not be well with the wicked, neither shall he prolong his days, which are as a shadow, because he feareth not before God. There is a vanity which is done upon the earth, that there be just men, un- unto whom it happeneth according to the work of the wicked. Again, there be wicked men, to whom it happeneth according to the work of the righteous. I said that this also is vanity. So that's what verse 14 is saying. It's saying like, I see just men, but their end is as the work of the wicked. And I see wicked men, and what's happening to them is what I would expect to happen to a righteous man. Blessings to come upon him, longer life, prosperity, more kids, I don't know. But then you got this just man dying early. So it's like it's a level of vanity to it. So verse 15 it says, Then I commended mirth, because a man hath no better thing under the sun than to eat and to drink and to be merry, for that shall abide with him of his labor the days of his life, which God giveth him under the sun. So it's like, out of all this vanity, the best way to spend that time, eat, drink, and be merry, because that's pretty much the portion that God's giving you for the labor that you do, for the work that we put in this world. So it's like, you don't work all week, man. Why don't you go out for a good night of drinks? Because it's not a sin to drink or anything like that, but have some discernment. Don't get toe up. But verse 16 it says, When I apply my heart to know wisdom, and to see the business that is done upon the earth, for there is that neither day nor night seeth sleep with his eyes. Then I beheld all the work of God, that a man cannot find out the work that is done under the sun. Because though a man labor to seek it out, yet he shall not find it. So it's like, out of all this stuff God made, right? This world, the trees, the water, the sky, all that, the heavens and the earth. It says, Then I beheld all the work of God, that a man cannot find out the work that is done under the sun. And it's like, you got these scientists, they always try to figure out the works of God. Like, they still CERN trying to figure out, replicate the Big Bang. But it says, because though a man labor to seek it out, he's still trying to seek out the wisdom of God, yet he shall not find it. Like, we're still not gonna figure out these quote unquote secrets of the universe until the Lord gives it to us. Like, that's why we haven't searched nearly half the ocean like that. Yea, further, though a wise man think to know it, yet he shall not be able to find it. Now let's go to chapter 9, and I think we might end it after this. Might end it after chapter 9, and then Lord willing, we can get 10, 11, and 12 later on when I come back from work. But Ecclesiastes chapter 9, it says, For all this I considered in my heart, even to declare all this, that the righteous and the wise and their works are in the hand of God. No man knoweth either love or hatred by all that is before them. So he's saying that no man knoweth either love or hatred by all them that is before them. And it's like, pretty much saying, like, out of all the people that have died before you, you haven't felt any love, you haven't felt any hatred from these people. Like a lot of people like to talk about, ghosts and spirits like that. A lot of people like to talk about ghosts and spirits like that, and you say, oh, this is a vengeful spirit. Oh, this ghost is one that hasn't been fully put to rest yet. but he's got something that he's trying to tell you. Oh, or this ghost is really the one of a loved one, and he's just trying to protect you. But it says, no man knoweth either love or hatred by all that is before them. Like, especially when you wanna put it into the conversation of, ancestors. Like, oh, I gotta, I'm carrying all my ancestors with me, or I gotta go speak to my ancestors. You can't speak to your ancestors. The only thing you talking to is familiar spirits. And it says, all things are come alike to all. There is one event to the righteous and to the wicked, to the good and to the clean, to the unclean, to him that sacrificeth and to him that sacrificeth not. As the good, so is the sinner, and he that sweareth, as he that feareth an oath. There is an evil among all things that are done under the sun, that there is one event unto all. Yea, also the heart of the sons of men is full of evil, and madness is in their heart while they live, and after that they go to the dead. And we can read about that back in Genesis chapter 6, because that's what was going on in Noah's time, right? Actually, I'm gonna flip over there real quick. Flip over there. Genesis 6 and 5, it says, and God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And it repented the Lord that he made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart. And he said, and the Lord said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and the creeping thing, and the fowls of the air, for it repented me that I have made them. Right? And it says in verse 21, and all flesh died that moved upon the earth, both of fowl and of cattle, and of beasts, and of every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, and every man, all in whose nostrils was the breath of life, and all that was in the dry land died. So that's just like it's saying in Proverbs and in Ecclesiastes, like, madness is in their heart while they live, and after that they go to the dead. Now we see back in Genesis 6 and 5 that God had to flood this earth because what? Every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. It said God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. So it says, like in Ecclesiastes, madness is in their heart while they live, and after that they go to the dead. Back in Noah's time, it was their heart was evil continually, so he had to kill them off, because that was the whole world. Verse 4, it says, for him that is joined to all the living there is hope, for a living dog is better than a dead lion. So it's like, hold on, give me one sec. So pretty much, if you are still alive, if you are still breathing, then you have hope. You got hope, because again, a living dog is better than a dead lion. Like, you put a lion and a dog together in a fight. Usually the lion is gonna win that fight. But if that lion is dead, then the dog is the victor automatically. Like, and we can see that in nature itself. Like, you see a dead lion, like on an African nature show or something, it's probably gonna be a hyena that's eating on him. You know, that's the type of dog. A living dog is better than a dead lion. But he's saying to him that is joined to all the living, there is hope. So, bro, if you feel like you haven't been right with God, but you are still living, there is still hope for you. Again, before a living dog is better than a dead lion. Verse 5, for the living know that they shall die, but the dead know not anything, neither have they any more reward, for the memory of them is forgotten. Also their love and their hatred and their envy is now perished. And that goes back to verse 1 where it says, no man knoweth either love or hatred by all that is before them. Continuing in verse 6, it says, neither have they any more a portion forever in anything that is done under the sun. Dang. Verse 7, go thy way, eat thy bread with joy, and drink thy wine with a merry heart, for God now accepteth thy works. Let thy garments be always white, and let thy head lack no ointment. So he's saying to keep your garments white. That's pretty much keep yourself clean, really in the sight of God. We're gonna go to Revelation 3 and 4 real quick, just to see real quick what these white garments are. Revelation 3 and 4 says, thou hast a few names, even in Sardis, which have not defiled their garments. This is talking about the 7 churches. And this is to the church in Sardis. And the angel is, well, Jesus is saying, thou hast a few names, even in Sardis, that have not defiled their garments. They shall walk with me in white, for they are worthy. So that's what these white garments represent. Your righteousness. It says you got some in Sardis that haven't defiled their garments. They once they got cleaned up, under that blood of Christ, once they got baptized and got their sins removed, keep your garments white. It says thou hast a few names even in Sardis, which have not defiled their garments, and they shall walk with me in white, for they are worthy. So you see that these white garments are equivalent to being worthy. It says, let thy garment, going back to Ecclesiastes, let thy garments be always white, and let thy head lack no ointment. Live joyfully with the wife whom thou lovest all the days of the life of thy vanity, which she hath given thee under the sun, all the days of thy vanity. For that is thy portion in this life, and thy labor which thou takest under the sun. Whatsoever thy hand findeth to do, do it with thy might. For there is no work, nor device, nor knowledge, nor wisdom in the grave whither thou goest. So it's like whatever you got to do in this life, do it with all your might, because you can't do it in the grave. Whether it be work, whether it be wisdom, knowledge, gaining wisdom and knowledge, do it with all your might, because you can't do it once you reach the grave. It says, I return, verse 11, I returned and saw under the sun that the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, neither yet bread to the wise, or yet riches to men of understanding, nor yet favor to men of skill, but time and chance happeneth to them all. And that's going back to this death right here. Like, death happens with time and chance. It says in verse 12, for a man also knoweth not his time, but as the fishes that are taken in an evil net, and the birds that are caught in the snare, so are the sons of men snared in an evil time when it falleth suddenly upon them. So like when man dies, it's pretty much like we don't know when it's gonna be. Just like you go on a fish, and a fish don't know that he about to get snatched up by a net. He's just swimming, living his life. But lo and behold, he's about to get snatched up. Verse 13, it says, this wisdom have I seen also under the sun, and it seemed great unto me. There was a little city, and few men within it. And there came, let me go down a little bit. Starting at verse 13, it says, this wisdom have I seen also under the sun, and it seemed great unto me. There was a little city, and a few men within it. And there came a great king against it, and besieged it, and built great bulwarks around it. Now there was found in it a poor wise man, and by his wisdom, and he by his wisdom delivered the city. Yet no man remembered the same poor man. Dang. So this poor wise man delivered this whole city, but then nobody even remembers him. Then said I, wisdom is better than strength. Nevertheless, the poor man's wisdom is despised, and his words are not heard. The words of wise men are heard in quiet, more than the cry of him that ruleth among fools. Wisdom is better than weapons of war, but one sinner destroyeth much good. And I'm gonna end it on that note. Uh, Actually, do I want to hit anything else real quick while we here? Cause I still ain't finished my cup right here. So that's all I'm gonna read in Ecclesiastes for now, right? But I guess while I'm here, I'm gonna read up in Ezekiel chapter 16. Ezekiel chapter 16. Just to switch it up a little bit, you feel me? Because, I mean, we still hanging out, you know? So, Ezekiel chapter 16. Actually, no, I don't even know if I want to do Ezekiel 16 just yet. Because that's going to be a while. But I will leave y'all with this though. It's the last one I'm gonna read from Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes 12 and 13. It says, "Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep His commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil." So we trying to fear God and keep His commandments. So let's go to Colossians chapter 3 and see what that looks like. It says, "If ye then be risen with Christ, seek those things which are above, where Christ sitteth on the right hand of God. Set your affection on things above, not things on the earth." So if we be risen with Christ, usually that means coming up after baptism, right? If we be risen with Christ, seek those things which are above. So we ain't focused on the things that's on this world. We're seeking the things that come from the spiritual. We're seeking the things above, where Christ sitteth on the right hand of God. Set your affection on things above and not things on the earth, for ye are dead, and your life is hid with Christ in God. When Christ, who is our life, shall appear, then shall ye appear with him in glory. Mortify therefore your members which are upon the earth, fornication. So all this sleeping around, right? Especially if you have no intention of marrying, that's fornication. And then it says uncleanness. Now, we in the New Testament and it's talking about uncleanness, but we don't really see any accounts of or any explanations of what uncleanness is. So where are we gonna find that? We gotta go to the Old Testament for that. The Old Testament's gonna tell you what's unclean. Like laying with a woman on her cycle, that's unclean. You got unclean foods, like not to eat swine, not to not to not to eat specific things, like not to eat mice, not to eat bats, things of that nature. Like you have unclean foods, but the only way you're gonna know what is unclean is if you go back to the law. Because again, you ain't gonna really find any explanation of uncleanness in the New Testament. You have to go back to the Old for that. But continuing on, it says inordinate affection, and that's your homosexuality and stuff right there. That's that men with men, women with women stuff. Inordinate affection, evil concupiscence, and covetousness, which is idolatry. He said that evil concupiscence, that's really perverse sexual lust. And he said covetousness, which is idolatry. So he lumped covetousness and idolatry together, right? For which things sake the wrath of God cometh on the children of disobedience. So the wrath of God comes when you walk in these ways. You're considered a child of disobedience when you walk in these ways. Verse 7, in the time which ye also walked in some time when ye lived in them. But now put off all these. Dang, I just realized y'all ain't even with me right here. But I pray that y'all still getting it though. At least with the sound. But I'm gonna switch to Colossians real quick, chapter 3. Okay, so we are at verse 8. It says, but now ye also put off all these: anger, wrath, malice, blasphemy, filthy communication out of your mouth. Lie not one to another, seeing that ye have put off the old man with his deeds. So, bro, we can't be capping to each other. Can't be capping each other down. And I've put on the new man, which is renewed in the knowledge after the image of him that created him, where there is neither Greek nor Jew, circumcision nor uncircumcision, barbarian, Scythian, bond nor free, but Christ is all and in all. So we seen what we putting off, but what are we putting on? It says, put on therefore, as the elect of God, holy and beloved, bowels of mercies, kindness, humbleness of mind, meekness, long suffering. Excuse me, y'all. But we gotta put on that kindness, humbleness of mind, and meekness, and long suffering. So long suffering, we gotta learn to bear with people, have patience, forbearing one another, and forgiving one another. If any man have a quarrel against any, even as Christ forgave you, so also do ye. And above all these things put on charity, which is the bond of perfectness. And let the peace of God rule in your hearts, to the which also ye are called in one body, and be ye thankful. Let the word of Christ dwell in you richly in all wisdom, teaching and admonishing one another in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing with grace in your hearts to the Lord. And whatsoever ye do in word or deed, do all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God and the Father by him. Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands, as it is fit to the Lord. Husbands, love your wives, and be not bitter against them. Children, obey your parents in all things, for this is well pleasing unto the Lord. Fathers, provoke not your children to anger, lest they be discouraged. Servants, obey in all things your masters according to the flesh, not with eye service, as men pleasers, but in singleness of heart, fearing God. And whatsoever ye do, do it heartily, as to the Lord, and not unto men, knowing that of the Lord ye shall receive the reward of the inheritance. The reward of the inheritance. For ye serve the Lord Jesus Christ. For ye serve the Lord Christ, I mean. But he that doeth wrong shall receive for the wrong which he have done, and there is no respect of persons. So, like, So he that do it wrong, he's gonna receive for the wrong that he's done. Because God doesn't have favorites. He don't have respective persons. But I think I'm gonna end it here. Lord willing, I'm gonna be back on here to finish this book of Ecclesiastes with you guys, and I pray that somebody got some understanding, most definitely in Jesus' name. And we gonna pray real quick and close. Well, we're gonna pray to close out. I mean, so our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. The Holy One of Israel, the King of kings and Lord of lords, the one true God, and there is no other. Amen. Peace.